Are you willing to sacrifice 3 years of your life to achieve 30 years of true freedom? Because while you're watching this video, your friends are at the club spending $200 on a night they'll barely remember tomorrow. And the brutal truth is, they're going to do this every weekend for the next 30 years, stuck in the same cycle, complaining they never have money. But there's a different path, a lonely, difficult path that will make you look crazy in the eyes of those who know you. And that's exactly why it works. Imagine waking up 3 years from now with multiple income streams working while you sleep, with wealth that gives you real security, with the freedom to choose where to work, whether to work, how to live. Now imagine continuing to do what everyone does. Going out every Friday, buying the new iPhone every year, trading cars because your neighbor did, living to impress people who don't even care about you. 3 years from now, you'll be in the same place, just older, more tired, and more trapped. The choice is yours, but it needs to be made now. Because every day that passes doing the same things is one less day to build something real. I'll be straight with you. The next 3 years will be the hardest of your life. Not because of money, but because of the people around you who won't understand why you changed. When you say no to that party, they'll call you boring. When you stay home Friday night working on your project, they'll say you lost your edge. When you drive the same car for 3 years while they trade theirs, they'll laugh at you. And it will hurt because you'll see pictures of them having fun while you're grinding. You'll hear stories about that epic night you missed. You'll feel like you're being left behind. But here's what they won't tell you. Monday morning, they wake up, hungover, broke, rushing to a job they hate. And you wake up knowing you're one day closer to your freedom. You need to make a brutal decision, your current social life or your future. And there's no middle ground because 3 years requires absolute focus, radical sacrifice, unwavering determination. Let's be practical. Every weekend you go out costs an average of $150 to $200 between drinks. Uber, food, cover charges. Multiply by 4 weekends. That's $800 a month thrown away on vague memories. In 3 years, that's $28,800. Invested with an 8% annual return, that money becomes over $33,000 just by stopping going out. Imagine what happens when you cut everything that's superfluous. That new phone that costs $1,200. You don't need it. Yours works perfectly. But Apple is masterful at making you feel like you need it, at making you feel inferior if you don't have the latest model. Change phones every 4 years instead of every year. That's $3,600 saved in 3 years. Seems small. It's just another brick in the foundation of your freedom. New car. Forget it. Cars depreciate faster than ice in the Arizona sun. The second you leave the dealership, you've lost 20% of the value. In 3 years, you've lost 40%. Keep your current car, do the maintenance, drive carefully, and invest the difference that would be the payment on that new car you don't need. We're talking about $500 a month that can become real assets. Brand name clothes, designer sneakers, expensive watches, all empty status, all designed to keep you poor while looking rich. The truly wealthy person doesn't need to show off because they have bank accounts, not appearance. Dress well, but intelligently. Quality clothes don't need giant logos. And frankly, nobody cares about you as much as you imagine. While you spend $300 on sneakers to impress, they barely look. Streaming, subscriptions, services you use once a month but pay for every month, cut everything. Netflix, Spotify Premium, that expensive gym you go to twice a month. Adetolapi. That's at least $100 monthly wasted. In 3 years, another $3,600 seems like crumbs. But adding up all these small decisions, you're talking about $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 in 3 years. That changes lives. Restaurants every week, $5 coffees every day, delivery because you're too lazy to cook. Americans spend an average of $330 per month eating out. Per month. Learn to cook, prepare your meals, take lunch to work while your coworkers spend $15 on lunch. They'll laugh. You'll build wealth. Because here's the truth nobody wants to accept. Small daily pleasures are silent thieves of your future. Every $5 you spend without thinking is a brick you didn't put in the foundation of your freedom. And in the hardest moments, when you're alone on a Saturday night while everyone's having fun, remember, you're not missing anything. You're gaining everything. Because in that moment, while they're spending, you're building. While they're consuming, you're investing. While they're living for today, you're securing 30 years of better tomorrows. 3 years without clubs, without expensive drinks, without stupid spending. 3 years focused, disciplined, unwavering. And I promise you, at the end of that period, you won't recognize your financial life. You'll have a rental property generating passive income. You'll have market investments growing consistently. You'll have a side business you created working while others slept. You'll have multiple income streams. And you know what's most beautiful? Those friends who laughed at you, who called you crazy, who abandoned you because you weren't fun anymore, they'll come back, asking for advice, asking to borrow money, asking how you did it, and you'll realize they weren't real friends. They were consumption companions, people who wanted you around as long as you spent along with them, validating their bad choices. Real friends support your evolution even when they don't understand. Respect your decisions even when they're different. Celebrate your growth even when they're not growing at the same pace. If you need to give up certain friendships to build your future, they're not friendships that deserve your future. It's painful, it's lonely, but it's necessary because you can't fly with the eagles if you keep scratching with chickens. And most people are chickens financially, scratching for crumbs, living day to day with no long-term vision. 3 years might seem like too much sacrifice, but think with me. You've probably already wasted 3 years of your life in bad relationships, jobs you hated, destructive habits, and you gained nothing from it. Now you have the chance to invest 3 years consciously and reap rewards for 30. 3 years of intense focus, strategic deprivation, iron discipline, in exchange for 3 decades of real freedom. Imagine waking up 3 years from now and having $15,000 of passive income per year. Doesn't seem like much, but it's $1,250 per month that arrives without you working. Covers your rent, covers your food, covers the basics. Suddenly, your job is no longer about survival, it's about choice. You can negotiate better, you can refuse bad projects, you can even quit everything and follow a passion that pays less but fulfills you more. And that's just the beginning, because if you keep growing that wealth for the next 27 years, at 50 you have over $1 million working for you. 1 million. This isn't luck, it's not inheritance, it's not privilege, it's pure mathematics. It's the power of compound interest combined with brutal discipline during 3 initial years. But you need to be willing to be different. You need to be willing to hear no when you want to hear yes. You need to be willing to work when you want to rest. You need to be willing to save when you want to spend. Every time you see that new car and feel tempted, remember that car costs $70,000 and will be worth $40,000 in 3 years. Or you can invest those $70,000 and have $110,000 in 10 years. Every time your friends call you to Vegas and you feel like you're missing out, remember, that trip costs $2,000 and will give you 3 days of fun. Or you can invest and have passive income for the rest of your life. It's not about never having fun. It's about choosing when, how, and why you spend. It's about having control instead of being controlled by impulse, social pressure, the need for external approval. And when you finally reach the end of those 3 years, something magical happens. Sacrifice becomes habit. Discipline becomes identity. You no longer need to force yourself because now it's who you are. You become the person who naturally chooses to invest instead of spend, who automatically thinks long-term, who instinctively seeks assets instead of liabilities. And that transformation is worth more than any amount of money, because now you don't just have more money. You have a mindset that ensures you'll always have money. You've become the type of person who creates wealth, not the type who just consumes, and then you look back and see those 3 years not as sacrifice, but as investment. The best investment you ever made, because you invested in yourself when nobody else believed. You worked while they slept, studied while they watched TV, invested while they spent, and now, 3 years later, you live in completely different realities. They still complain about money. You're building an empire. They still depend on their salary. You have multiple sources. They still fear Monday. You have freedom of choice. And the next 30 years, they're yours. To travel when you want, not when you can get vacation. To work at what you love, not what pays bills. to help those you love without sacrificing yourself to live on your terms. But it all starts with a decision today. Not tomorrow, not Monday. Today, the decision that you're going to be different. You'll sacrifice now to have later. You'll build while others consume. So I ask again, and I want you to answer honestly, are you really willing? Willing to say no to that party? Willing to drive the same car? Willing to be called crazy? Because if you are, I guarantee 3 years from now, you'll look back and be grateful you had the courage. You'll see that every no was worth it, every night alone, every moment of doubt. And those who laughed, they'll be asking for your help. Those who abandoned you, they'll want to come back. But you'll be so far ahead it won't even matter anymore because you'll be free while they remain trapped. 3 years of sacrifice for 30 of freedom, it's not easy, but it's definitely worth it. And if you made it this far, let me know. Would you make that trade? Would you sacrifice clubs, new cars, social approval for real freedom? Comment below if you're willing to start this journey. Subscribe to the channel because we're going to dive deep into every step of this transformation. And hit that like button if this video lit a fire in you. Because your decision today defines your next 30 years. Choose wisely.